Folks, my guest tonight is a gifted comedy writer and actor who just last year wrapped 6 successful seasons, starring as Glenn on NBC Superstore, now streaming on Hulu. He's a former cast member of Saturday Night Live, Studio 60 on the Sunset Strip, and the critically acclaimed Canadian series Slings and Arrows, which he co-created alongside Bob Martin and Susan Coyne. For 3 seasons, he served as showrunner and executive producer of the award-winning Less Than Kind. And he is, of course, a founding member of sketch troupe The Kids in the Hall, who have a brand new series starting this season on Amazon. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to whatever the hell this is, Mark McKinney. How are you, sir?
Yay, me.
That's a lot of you.
Yeah, there's a lot of me. I like listening to people talk about me in glowing terms. Though it was 4 seasons of Less Than Kind. I think you're only counting the ones that you worked on, which I think is a little unfair.
Oh, were there 4?
Yes, there were 4.
I worked on season 1 and possibly 2, I think.
2, and then we bugged you about season 3, but you'd already gone to the coast.
Well, all right. Now, before we get into anything else, this is a really super important question I've been dying to get you on the record about. Are you ready?
Okay, shoot.
All right. Why the hardline stance against interracial marriage? No, I'm just kidding. Well, I want to know about the. Here's what I want to know. I want to know the Washington football team, now the Washington Commanders. You're a big fan. Tell me about the name. Are we a fan? Are we not a fan? What would you have gone with?
The Hogs. There was really only one name, or they could have left it as the Washington football team. I kind of liked it. There was something
I kind of liked it too.
Like about calling. Yeah, I think actually people enjoyed calling them the Washington football team. This generic, red and gold or whatever their colors are, kind of.
It had an almost turn of the century feel to it.
Yes, exactly.
We're going to see the Washington Football Club.
We have a professional football team. It's very unstable. That kind of fuzzy scientist thing. No, they had a few names, and like a bunch of us who are fans of the Washington football team, we watched in horror as they winnowed down the list of names, and Hogs was on there till close to the end. But knowing the track record...
This is Hogs, H-O-G-S, not Hawks.
Yeah, well, the Hogs, if you're a recent football convert, but in the 70s and the 80s, when I was really becoming a huge Washington fan, they had a group of fans who would always appear in the stadium with their face painted as pigs and big hog noses, because that was their tribute to the vaunted defensive line or offensive line called the Hogs, which were just like these. Washington's always had a sort of broken toys reputation of like older players having their moments of glory there, and John Riggins and all these people, and that would have been a great name, and then they went with the name pulled straight from a failed arena highlight league, the Commanders. It's just.
Let's talk about kids. It's been a good chunk of time since the last show, and obviously you guys have done a lot of stage stuff in between, and Death Comes to Town, and there's never really been a period when you've been sort of entirely separated from one another. But I guess the thing I'm sort of curious about the most right now is how had the writing process changed? Because I'm assuming a lot of the original stuff you worked at on stage, yeah?
You mean, are you talking about in the original series or what we did in this reboot?
Going back to the original series, I'm assuming that most of that first season, at any rate, was largely stuff that had evolved on stage.
Unfortunately,
yeah.
Because because
go ahead.
Well, we started as a starving, underattended, club act, and then we kind of got hot, and then Bruce and I went to SNL while the other guys went in seconds, and then we reunited, and then we were sort of like a hot local act for a couple of years.
Right.
So you know what it's like. You become the Rat Pack. Everything's whatever you want to make it, baby. So we'd write a sketch that would be a great tight 4-minute sketch that would sprawl into a 9-minute thing with clever improvisations, fueled by Jim Beam. And those are the pieces we kind of transcribed and took to television.
Did a lot of those early sketches start out as, like, did you go the Second City route? Were you improvising these on stage, and then eventually they were finding their way into onto paper, or
No, they weren't all improvs. We didn't always work like that. We occasionally worked like that. What we'd call spritzing. And some of our better sketches were just like it'd be the end of a writing session, and we would start goofing.
Yeah.
And something like I remember a few really good, like Nina from Joymakers, where I played this crazy lady trying to organize a surprise party as an office. That was at the end of a session in my apartment as we were having a drink and about to leave, and we just started improvising that. But no, some people came in with notebooks, some with, lines and ideas, and some people came in with like a picture, but it started from something or a discussion.
Was that
or a character?
Well, so now that you're, doing it again, different stage of life, what happened when you all kind of walked into the room again and saw one another? Did you all have sort of stuff in hand that you had written individually and then kind of
some people had a similar sort of like backlog of material, like Scott and Kevin in particular, and Bruce too, had been doing like a lot of live stuff while I was at Superstore just doing other people's words for the most part.
Right.
And it was a very strange process. We did never walk into a room because of COVID. We had 1 3-month period of writing virtually, and then that got stopped because we couldn't shoot in the summer of 2020, and then we returned to it the following spring, and had another chunk of time again, all virtual.
Going back to 85 for a second, and we've talked about SNL before, but when you and Bruce go off in 85, tell me a little bit, and I know people know that you were in the cast from maybe 94 to 97, is that fair? Something like that, yeah. 95 to 98. Yeah. But before that, you came in 1985 to 1986, the big year. Lorne Michaels is coming back to the show. He's been gone for 5 years. Tell me who's in that writer's room.
Okay, you got your A. Whitney Brown.
Whitney Brown was in the room.
You got your Don Pardo. You got your Al Franken and Tom Davis as writing producers.
I'm sorry, Don Pardo? Don Novello?
No, not Don Pardo. Don Novello. Sorry, Don Pardo.
I've got an idea for a sketch.
A murderer's row of
George Meyer,
John Swartzwelder, Jack Handy, George Meyer, James Downey. Let's see who else is there. Robert Smigel is the other apprentice writer, along myself and Bruce.
All stars.
Terry Sweeney's partner is I'm blanking. Sorry.
No, but he was a writer on the show, and I think they're married now. Yeah.
They're married, and his partner was a writer on the show. I'm blanking. What is wrong with age?
Was there a sense? Obviously, a lot of the folks who are on the show now started out as writers on the show. Was there a sense back in '85 between you and Bruce that maybe that's where this will go? You'll make your way to the cast, or was that not even on your radar?
No, well, not entirely, because we were originally auditioned for the cast. I think we both went down and performed in front of this murderer's row of writers, most of whom were already hired, and Lorne and everybody in the rehearsal room above the theater that was showing Cats at the time. And we did some of our act from the Rivoli, but wound up getting hired as writers. And I don't know what it was. I think pretty early on, we got a sense that the Kids in the Hall stuff was different from what was valued at Saturday Night Live.
Right.
And so there was, yeah.
And did you feel that even more so when you went to join the cast in 95, or what was that?
Well, that was the other half of the confirmation. I didn't learn my lesson the first time around, because I think for the first part at SNL, I was trying to pull that show over to my point of view, as an apprentice writer with no experience. And then I gave up, and then I tried to, just learn from the people around me. That was actually a very valuable year. Going back to it as a performer, having now done 6 years of Kids in the Hall style stuff, and coming in again with something that was a round hole in a square peg in a round hole, whatever. Mm-hmm. So I learned that lesson, had to learn that lesson twice.
Let's talk for a second about that cast you joined in 95, because I would say, you talk about a murderer's row. Well, I'm going to run down these names and you tell me what you remember or what your first thought is. Are you ready?
Okay.
Jim Brewer.
Funny, nice guy, neighbor in New York. I liked him.
Will Ferrell.
Oh, a miracle. Like, there's very few people who get that big and that famous who are that funny, who are just uncomplicated and kind of loving, decent, great people. I mean, there's
Did you
more
get
and
a
more now, I
sense?
think.
Did you get a sense in that first season? Like, was it kind of clear right away that Will was going to be kind of a
Yeah,
breakout?
it was instant. Once he and McKay met, it was like, I was there for the first kiss. you know,
Well, I
yeah,
remember just as a viewer watching the Get Off the Shed sketch, which I think he had probably brought in
yeah,
from Groundlings, yeah,
yeah.
and it was the Merrill Hemingway show. But I think was that the first show of the year?
No, but that was early. That was one of the first shows of that fall. Yeah.
Yeah, but I just remember noting him and thinking, I had the same response when I looked at the new kid this year who does such a great Trump. You kind of get a sense of, oh, here's a guy who's just tailor made for
Yeah, he
this
seems
show.
very cool. He seems very nice. I follow him
Yeah,
on various social medias.
yeah. Daryl Hammond was also in that cast, and I
Oh,
assume
the
maybe even his
strangest,
first year.
greatest guy. Amazing. Well, I thought that I was good at impersonations and accents, but he just does it at an entirely different level.
Who did you do on that show? I know you did Paul Schaefer in a couple of the Letterman sketches
I
that
did Paul
Norm did.
Schaefer. I had one of those weird SNL experiences where my character Steve Forbes, when Steve Forbes was running, caught
Oh,
on.
that's right.
And of course, Steve Forbes came on as a host. That was
Oh
interesting.
God,
Yeah,
yes. Sort
yeah.
of the Elon Musk of his day.
The Elon Musk of his day. He was running on flat tax, I think, or something. And
Yeah.
who else did I do? Yeah, I did Paul. I did Bill Gates.
Oh my
I
word. I
I
don't know
did
that I've
Mark
ever heard a
Russell.
Bill Gates impression.
I did Mark Russell. Are you
Give
talking
me
about
give me a little of the
real
Bill
funny?
Gates. I just want to hear. Do you remember the Bill? Do you remember how that went?
It was basically Glenn from Superstore. All my nerds sound like,
I'm up
they're all
here.
like that. I just go up an octave.
David Koechner.
Oh, he was my bride. We kind of sought each other out, and the only character that kind of like was an original creation, I wrote for us and with Norm Hiscock and were the Fops.
Yes, the
I
beloved
loved him.
Fox.
He was an improv purist, and I like he had great integrity about how he approached his work. I
I,
really
thought-
thought. And he had a character. To this day, I can't figure out why it wasn't the hit character that season.
oh, what was the character?
Is it Earl? I can't remember. It's just some idiot from Tupelo, which I think is where he's from, or Tipton, Missouri. Is that where he's from? Just scheming guy, but I mean, just 100% there. Like,
Now the Fops, which as you know is one of my favorite things ever. So they were like sort of 17th century dandies with big powdered woods, and this kind of started as a way to annoy Norm. Is that right?
yeah, because Norm was always kind of like, about people femming out a little bit, and so the idea of just like torturing him during an update segment where
Cool.
we would
Yeah.
it was just too much fun, and we really only did it for read through, kind of as I mean maybe it was a serious play to try and get on update or whatever, but
Right.
of course with Norm is when you pushed him he kind of liked it, so I think he maybe insisted that it actually get on the air. I don't know, but I wouldn't be surprised because
Yeah.
Norm was a great guy.
Well, Norm was the guy I was going to ask you about next, but I guess we've.
Oh, a complete original. I have to say, a lot of the people in that cast, you would say, oh, they broke the mold. You know what I mean?
Well, no, I mean this is the thing. Like, just look at this list. So now, okay, so Norm Macdonald, Mark
I haven't
McKinney.
even touched on the women yet.
No, I know, and I'm about to. Tim Meadows, who I think one of the funniest people in the world. Yeah.
Funniest thing, my dad never, and we're still friends to this day, and my dad never would always make the point, you know who my favorite member of this cast is? And I'd lean forward, hopefully. Who, Daddy? And he'd say, Tim Meadows.
Well, you must have been proud because you were in Ladies Man.
He
So
loved the Midnight Guy sketch, after the Courvoisier guy.
that was the Ladies Man. Yeah.
That's
yeah.
Ladies Man, yes.
Oh, I can't remember that. Yeah. No, let's talk about a couple of the women. Sherry O'Terry.
Sherry O'Terry like arrived with a whirlwind. Her and Chris Kattan were kind of like, they just seemed to pop out of the same package with the same kind of energy. Him with Mongo, her with, a really intense array of characters. They were all good choices that year. Like they all lasted. Because the Farley Sandler Spade era ended kind of clunkily with a bloated cast, and the end of the 85 year, spring 85, like it was just myself, Norman, Molly Shannon, and
95.
Anyone else? Yeah,
95?
95, right.
Yeah.
We were the only survivor. I think it was another case where only like 4 people were carried on to the next year, 4 or 5.
Yeah, but everybody who was in that cast went on to do a lot of really funny shit. Molly Shannon. Did we just say Molly Shannon? We haven't even. No, I haven't even said Molly yet.
Started with Sherry O'Terry, but Molly Shannon, and another one, like she was there to do art, and it showed. I mean, it just so happened that she had a lot of material and stuff, but.
Also, you were in a.
What?
Oh no, I'm sorry. I was just going to say partly because of Molly, but you were in a disproportionately large number of SNL movies because that was really the period where they were. Lauren was really on a tear there with Paramount. Yeah. Yeah,
well, they all were going out and making some amount of money. Like the Farley films all did. The Farley Spade films all did really well. And I don't know if Lauren had a finger in the Adam Sandler ones, but they were doing well. And Roxbury and Ladies Man and Superstar. Like they all.
Yeah, and I feel like there was some cynicism around it at the time, but God, now you just like wither the $5 million comedy.
Please show up on Netflix, and not as a 9-part series, but just
right.
Give me the hour 25 version of that.
Get in.
That's all I want.
Get in and get out.
I don't want to be wondering about season 2.
You know who else was in that cast? Nancy Walls, spouse of Steve Carell for one thing, but a comic voice in her own right, and was very funny on The Daily Show for a couple of years.
Yeah, wonderful.
Yeah. The feature players that year, by the way, for those of you keeping score at home, Chris Kattan, who you mentioned, was a friend came in with Sherry O'Terry. Colin Quinn, that was his first year. He came in March of that year.
Gee, really? God, another amazing original.
Yeah, super funny.
Very funny. I love his update because
I love his update too. I would put it next to maybe Norm's. I think maybe one of the funniest guys to ever do it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because his joke, like when a joke didn't sail, he had the best. Kind of like
Well, he was always very good at doing he had kind of an Irish. He would do this sort of like.
It was like, how did this Port Authority sergeant get on TV?
All right, I got 20 questions for you before we go. Are you ready?
Yeah, wait, am I supposed to be guessing something? Like
No. Well, they're not. They're not really. They're not so much. Well, they're mostly opinion based, but there are a couple of trivia notes in here. We'll see see how you do. Are you ready? Do you want me to put a clock up?
Well, if you want to.
I don't know how to do that.
You don't have a clock.
No, I don't. I barely know how the switcher works. All right, are you ready? 20 questions with TV's Mark McKinney. Number 1. Who should take over Jeopardy permanently? Ken Jennings or Mayim Bialik?
I think Mayim Bialik.
Number 2. What was the name of the first girl you ever kissed?
Christiane.
Ooh, French?
There he is.
You were a diplomat's son. You were traveling all over the world. Where did you meet her?
I was a Canadian kissing ambassador to Paris. Ooh. No, her father was a diplomat too, and we met at my family's cottage.
What was the very first sketch you remember writing ever?
Oh, a dream sketch that I set in. I used to work in a piano repair shop in Calgary, very work with your hands kind of place. And I dreamt. I wrote a sketch about telling them all a homoerotic dream that I had, and so we acted that out.
Did that ever make it onto tape in any capacity at all?
Versions of it did. versions of it did. We did that. We did that at our comedy show in Calgary before Bruce and I moved to Toronto. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Number 4. Which of the Die Hard sequels? Now, you can't pick the first one. What's the best of the Die Hard sequels?
Have not seen all the Die Hard sequels, I'm sorry to say.
Come on.
So I'm going to say 28. 28 brought all the elements of the previous 27 together.
Have you seen Die Hard 2, Die Harder?
Is that the one in winter in Toronto, or is that the first one?
Yeah, never mind. We're gonna leave this one.
Which is the one with Snape from Harry Potter? Is that 2?
Yes, that is. No. That's the first one.
Oh, okay.
And then the second one is the one with Jeremy. No. I'm sorry. The second one. The answer is 3, by the way. Die Hard.
Okay, thank you. 3.
What is your favorite token on the Monopoly board? I mean, playing piece. What's your go-to?
Wheelbarrow.
Wheelbarrow.
Yeah.
I don't know anybody who goes for the wheelbarrow. Usually it's the car. I was always partial to the little terrier, the Schnauzer, because we had one growing up.
Yeah. Well, it's a superficial world.
Were you there? Because Damon Wayans was in that cast as well.
Mm-hmm.
He famously...
Damon, yes, my God, yeah.
Yeah, so he famously... there was a sketch called Mr. Monopoly, and I'm wondering... Were you there that night?
Mm-hmm.
So, do you want to describe what happened?
Damon had well, I think he was getting fed up because he didn't have a writer for him there, and he's really talented. And
not
so
a great time for African Americans on the show.
He was supporting cast. I think he was supporting cast. He wasn't cast.
Right. Yes.
And so he wanted to play these 2 cops come in, and it was basically a straight role to end the sketch. I think I'm vaguely remembering, and he played his cop extremely effeminately, and got the note between dress and air to just play it straight, and then he went out and played it the same way, and I think famously Lauren turned to the writer sitting beside him and said, "Well, I've got a firearm." You know?
Right, and he was gone by the end of the night. Yeah.
I think so, but I don't think he was happy there. I don't think he was. No. Then he went on to do Living Color. I
always thought the premise of that sketch was kind of funny, which was that Mr. Monopoly was in jail, but he kept getting out because he had all the cards.
Yeah. Oh, that's
damn you, Mr. Monopoly.
Yeah.
All right, number 8. These are going to start going a lot faster. Don't worry. All right, number 8. What's the longest you've ever gone without a haircut?
Oh, it would have been this year. It's been right before my last haircut. Oh, 3 months. 3 months?
Well, that's not very long. Did you never? You never had like a big Canadian mullet?
Oh well, do you mean a haircut or a trim? Or like I'm talking about like it grew wild and I look insane by the time I showed up at the barber shop.
Right. I mean the longest you ever went between being in the barber chair and between barber chairs. What's the longest you ever went between barber chairs?
3 months.
3 months.
3 months or so. Yeah.
Number 9, Taylor Swift has 8 number 1 hits in her career. Name one of them.
I'll Write Your Name.
Is that a song?
Yeah.
Are you Googling this?
No.
Yeah. I actually can't. I can't name any. I don't know why I put that one in. Number 10. What is the most you've ever spent on a pair of sneakers?
Oh, not over $200. Like maybe 100 and some odd. Like I'm still scared. I don't spend money on shoes.
Not a sneaker guy. What's the number 11? What's the first album you ever bought?
Alice Cooper. School's Out.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
You know what mine was?
What?
Get the Knack. Remember the Knack?
Oh. I can still play mine.
Yeah. Number 12. What's the last time you smoked a cigarette?
Smoked a whole, like went and bought a pack and smoked a cigarette?
Well, again, I didn't expect this many
A
follow-up
whole
questions.
cigarette, like a whole cigarette. Sometimes during
When was the last time you had a tobacco cigarette in your hand
during
and you went?
sometime in the last 2 to well, it was, like 2 or 3 years ago. I mean, I used to smoke. I quit 10 years ago.
I feel like we both smoked when we were in Winnipeg. Yeah.
You were, but I quit 2010, or end of 2009. No, 2010.
Oh, good for you. Oh. Yeah. Number 13, another smoking-related question. Who do you think smoked more, Edward R. Murrow or Rod Serling?
Oh, Murrow looks like he did.
Yeah.
Like, 'cause I can see that, again, you're going to have to go way back. And,
I'll show pictures.
He'll show pictures, yeah. But
listen, this is the
had
hippest.
Television news lighting that amplified the clouds of smoke around him. And I think you could see his filthy ashtray.
Yeah.
Where Serling smoked in a natty suit. He was
I don't know that Serling ever smoked on the zone. Maybe he did. I don't remember him smoking though. Would he have a cigarette in his hand?
Have, but he was much more put together. I mean, here's the real question: who looked like they needed a sheep dip more, Edward R. Murrow or Rod Serling?
What is a sheep dip?
Like you take a person and dump them in disinfectant.
Oh. Yeah, they would fight to the draw there. Number 14, who was the better old man on My Three Sons, William Demarest or William Frawley?
Oh, I think I'm going to say, I'm trying to picture Demarest or Frawley, but I think I like Frawley better. If I'm remembering.
So Bill Frawley
was more comedic.
Was William Frawley the one who was on I Love Lucy?
I believe so.
I think
Demarest
so.
Wasn't he a heavy?
Okay, so William Frawley was on I Love Lucy. And when My Three Sons first starts, there's a guy living in there with Fred McMurray and his three sons, and his name is Bub. And he's played by William Frawley. Later on, right. Bub leaves, Uncle Charlie comes in, he's played by William Demarest. I don't know why I asked that either. I know, who cares? Here we go. Number 15, Brewster's Millions. Brewster's Millions came out in 1985 and starred John Candy and Richard Pryor. How many films have been made from the same story?
I have no idea. No clue.
7. Number 16,
Really?
Isn't that amazing? 6 failed. Brewster's Millions was the 6th failed version of that story.
Holy cow. Like
Number
Xanadu.
16, if Kurt Cobain had not died, would Nirvana have appeared at the Super Bowl halftime show by now?
Yes.
Yeah, I agree. Number 18, what famously cantankerous talk show guest appeared in 1976's King Kong alongside Jessica Lange and Jeff Bridges? It's not the monkey.
Famously cantankerous talk show guest, King Kong. Rickles. No?
Oh, close. Not really, but Charles Grodin.
Charles Grodin. Okay.
Nonetheless, thank you very much for coming in. Are you satisfied? Is there anything else you wanted to? Do you have any questions for us?
No, except to say that the Kids in the Hall will be dropping their reboot in summer 2022, and also coming along with that is a fine doc on the Kids in the Hall that we just took to South by Southwest, where got glowing reviews, and that'll come out a couple of weeks after the series premieres.
Will it be called the New Kids in the Hall? Probably not. I'm guessing it'll just be called Kids in the Hall.
Reboot or revival? I can't remember which one we settled on.
Oh, but is that like a subtitle, or will it just?
We're treating it like it's season 6 of the original series.
Oh, fun!
Slightly delayed.
Yeah. Just a little bit. God bless you on this day, Mark McKinney. Say goodnight.
See you, Rob.
Bye.